I was at Bhaktivedanta Hospital. I had a little surgery done, so I've been recuperating by the good graces of all of you here. I first came here to Mumbai, Bombay, not Juhu specifically. First time I came here was with Srila Prabhupada, 1972, the end of 1972, that they had also Cross Maidan Festival at that time. So that was 47 years ago. Well, some 47 years ago was the first time I came here. At that time, Srila Prabhupada stayed at Kartikeya Mahadevi's house. I believe it was called Ocean View Apartments, something like that, right on the ocean in Mumbai. There was nothing here. My room where I'm staying here, heaven on earth, my room is as big as the whole temple was at that time, with the tin roof on the top. So I came in 1974. You all know the history here, I'm sure, of Juhu Temple. Many of you. If you don't know the history, you should certainly understand the miracles Srila Prabhupada has performed. I want to thank, first of all, Brajahari Prabhu. Very graciously has allowed myself and my wife to stay here this time. This temple is exemplary in so many ways. I felt very welcomed here. Even some days ago, I was making my way finally downstairs, and then I got hit with a bad cold. So it set me back. These material bodies, they're not very much fun. I was with Prabhupada for a long time, over 2 years. So when I first came here to India with Prabhupada, I had never actually been sick. I went through 14 years of schooling, all in Catholic schools, grade school, high school, colleges. Before I left, I was in my second year in the university when I just walked away and moved into a temple in New Vrindavan. In those 14 years, I missed maybe 4 days of school. So I considered myself a very healthy person. And then I came with Prabhupada to India. Everything changed. The first month was very wonderful in Vrindavan, month of Kartik. I spent the whole month of Kartik with Srila Prabhupada at Radha Damodar Temple. It was my first experience outside of the USA as Prabhupada made his way from New Vrindavan to Los Angeles, went to Thailand, then we went to India, Delhi, and came right to Vrindavan in time for Kartik. So my first month went very nicely, but then I got sick. I think I had malaria, didn't even know, never been so sick in my whole life. We were in Ahmedabad. Prabhupada was doing a festival there, a Pandal festival there, thousands and thousands of people coming. We were staying at one life member's house, and I was bedridden for days and days. I thought I was going to die. And I remember the people there living at the house, they brought one doctor. All he had was a little black bag, little black case. Inside were a bunch of little bottles, little white pills in them. It's the first time I ever saw such medicines, these little round white things, sugar pills, homeopathic medicine, my first experience. But then I got better. And as I improved, I said to Prabhupada, I've never been so sick. Prabhupada looked at me. He said, really? He said, disease, he said, is our natural condition. He said, to be healthy, he said, is very unusual. Of course, he meant this is our disease, this identification with the body. We're always diseased because we think we're this body. Prabhupada left India. He was 70, just turning 70 years old. He said in one place here in India, he was talking with an Indian gentleman, and he said, since I left India, he said 1965, it was 10 years later, he said, I have never been healthy. He said, this body has never been healthy. He said, the whole time, he said, I have never felt healthy. He said it was very difficult. The man said, so he said, you had some anxiety. He said, stress? He said, no. He said, I'm fine. He said, but the body, he said, was not healthy. He said, the whole time, he said, since I left India. We know he said he was very happy in Vrindavan. Those 2 rooms. Back in when Prabhupada went there, 1960 or so, he spent 2,000 rupees. 2,000 rupees at that time. That was a lot of money. Gurchan Goswami, he was the resident Goswami of Radha Damodar Temple that time. He said, you pay rent whatever you want. He paid 2 rupees a month rent for those 2 rooms. But he spent 2,000 rupees fixing. He wanted to fix up the temple. So he spent 2,000 rupees. He said he was very content, very peaceful, very happy. He said, but I had my duty from my spiritual master. I was just reading when Prabhupada came here later, 1976, his rooms still weren't finished. But that didn't matter to Srila Prabhupada. If he had a room he could stay in, just like in Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram Mandir, his quarters, he went there. I went with him 1974. The rooms were not finished, not even near completed, but he stayed in those rooms at his temple, his ISKCON temple. Srila Prabhupada always wanted to stay at the temple, never wanted to be anywhere else. So he was here in 1976, same situation. He was staying in his rooms. They had to clean everything. They were still cutting tiles, so much dust, so much dirt, cleaning. He would stay there. And he wasn't feeling well, but he would come and speak. He was giving darshan. And of course, what happens so many times, someone said, Prabhupada, you please give me your blessings. And Prabhupada stopped. And he just looked at him. He said, so many troubles, so many problems, everywhere. He said, I travel all over the world. So many problems are there. So much trouble is there. He said, my head is filled with these problems, with these troubles. I saw so much. Prabhupada would say, I have a headache. So many problems. His biggest problem was right here, this Juhu temple. For years, from the very time I joined him, I had no idea. I joined him in beginning of September 1972. They had just recently purchased this land. Prabhupada had a vision. Immediately he built that little temple area. So Radha Rasa Bahari, they would have a place, a very small, humble shelter. The Lord, Supreme Lord, he put them in this little place. It was the only place that had any lock on it, was that little room, the deity room. Everything was open. And from that time, this place gave him a lot of headaches. So many headaches. Mr. Nair trying to take it back time and time again. But Prabhupada said, Krishna was there. He was not going to let him be displaced. So he looked at the man. I'm sure he could understand so much he had gone through to claim this place so that all of us could sit here now very comfortably. Huh? Everything is heaven on earth, Juhu Temple. Everything is wonderful here. As I said, the administration, the management doing such a wonderful job. Everyone is so welcome, taken care of nicely, nice prasadam. Everywhere you go, everything is beautiful. And Prabhupada looked, he could see everything he had gone through. He said, you want my blessings. He said, you take some of my troubles. This is devotee, this is disciple. He gives up his comfortable lifestyle. Prabhupada said, I was very comfortable in Vrindavan, very happy there before Radha Damodar deities. Seva Kunj, chanting japa, Jamuna was very nice. At that time there were turtles in the river. Life was in the river, the Jamuna River. Everything was so nice. But that wasn't his service. So he left that comfortable place. He took trouble for his spiritual master, for Krishna. Now there's not so much trouble. We can look and find. Prabhupada established this society. It's for preaching. This ISKCON society, society of preachers. Always he would want to say, huh? So many times when he was here, his disciples were working from the time they got up in the morning till when they took rest, somehow or other, to help Srila Prabhupada spread this mission. We had an experience just recently for the first time. 3 months ago, my wife and I, we left Vrindavan. We have our home now in Vrindavan after so many years. This Juhu temple, we sit in our room, you can see the planes flying from the airport going back to the west. Myself and my godbrothers, we would be on the morning walk on Juhu beach with Srila Prabhupada. 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, walking nice flat beach. Prabhupada liked it so much, Juhu beach. But we would be walking on that beach, we would see those planes, and we would think, when are we going to be on one of those planes to get out of this place, to get out of India? Because we were always sick. Prabhupada would come here, he would stay. He would say he would come for a few days, and then a week would go by, and he would keep staying, and another week would go by, and he didn't leave, because he had to struggle so much to get you this place, to build you this temple. He worked very, very hard to see that this place was built for Sri Sri Radha Rasa Bahari and all of their maidservants, all of their servants and maidservants. He struggled, he took so much trouble to bring you this place. Huh? But when we were here in 1975, we would watch those 747s flying back to the USA. Think, when are we going to be on one of those planes? Now, after I was in Bhaktivedanta Hospital, all I could think of is, I want to come to the Juhu temple and stay here. Things change. That's by, again, wonderful management. Brajahari Prabhu, so nice, taking care of everyone. All of you here, sitting here, this is your business, to see everyone comes. You make them feel at home. In Mayapur, book distributors, you may have heard of Radha Damodar Party. The Radha Damodar Party in the 70s, 1974, 75, they were the biggest book distributors in the world, the devotees on that party. They were under Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Vishnu Jan Maharaj, and they would distribute thousands and thousands of big books every day. Yeah. Or Maharatis, we would call them, Pragosh Prabhu, Tripurari, so many devotees going to the airports, going anywhere and everywhere, getting arrested, thrown in jail, getting back out, going right back out into the streets. No one cared. In Australia, they were doing Harinam, like everywhere. USA, same thing. They were crazy. They would see us chanting in the streets. They didn't know how to deal with us. These crazy Hare Krishna people, shaved heads, tilak, dhoti and kurta. They had never seen anything like this, singing and dancing in the streets as a religion, trying to pass it off as a religious process, and they would arrest us. They didn't know how to keep us because we hadn't committed any crimes. We were just chanting and dancing in the streets. Lord Chaitanya's movement, but they would arrest us. Prabhupada said, that's all right. He told Madhvisa in Australia, let them arrest you. He said, you chant in jail, you chant in the street, there's no difference. Wherever you go, you chant Hare Krishna. But finally they accepted us. They saw we were bona fide. In the USA, we were getting arrested. I remember 1971, going down to the South. You know, in the USA, you had the North and there was the South. The South was filled with very hardcore Christian people, Pentecostals, or very fanatics. You know what fanatics are, huh? Sometimes we have Hare Krishnas, they're fanatics. So they were fanatics. They couldn't stand that we were chanting and dancing. And they would arrest us, they put us in jail. We were in jail on a Sunday. Sunday was our feast day. Prabhupada had started way back in the beginning, Sunday feast program. Samosas. You just had the president from the US come here recently in Delhi. They said he didn't eat. He went to high tea time at Mahatma Gandhi's place where he spent some years. And the man had made samosas. And the samosas had broccoli and corn in them. Broccoli and corn. I said, that's an offense to samosas. Prabhupada knew how to make a samosa. We had our cauliflower and our peas. He showed us how to make proper samosa. Cooked it down until it was in a paste. Put it in nice little dainty floury crust. Fried it in ghee. Our Sunday feast, everything fried in ghee. Puris, samosas, cauliflower pakoras, halava, strawberry lassis, pineapple chutneys. Everyone was coming because of the prasadam. Prabhupada knew how to attract everyone by prasadam. And a big part of that prasadam was everything was cooked in ghee. So we were having in the jail. We were there on a Sunday. So we decided we would still have our Sunday feast in jail because we learned if you couldn't actually do your service, you could just do it in the mind. Mansi Seva. I prepared a whole feast for the devotees, 10 of us in the jail cell. The policemen thought we were totally crazy. We were crazy for Krishna. I prepared samosas, puris, sweet rice. After everything, we were all sitting there meditating in the jail cell. And then everyone sat down and I served them all. There was nothing there, but we were serving. After a few hours, they just wanted us to leave. They said, who are these crazy people? This was all Prabhupada's mercy. He showed us you can serve Krishna in any condition of life. So when those Sankirtan devotees, they came to Mayapur at that time, 1975, we had the Lotus building and the long building. You know, the long building, still there. Prabhupada had that built as soon as possible to take care of his disciples, so his disciples would have somewhere nice to stay when they came to India. He knew how difficult it was for Westerners to come to India at that time. Now he's made it so nice. We're coming to India to stay. They said I couldn't wait to come here to stay at this temple here. But he told those devotees on the Radha Damodar party, one of them asked Prabhupada, book distributor, we always knew in ISKCON, we always knew if you wanted to please Prabhupada the most, what did you do? You distributed books. He would say, that's the most important, distribute my books. So the devotee asked him, how do we please you the most? His book distributor, one of his biggest book distributors. How can I please you the most, Prabhupada? Prabhupada looked at him. He said, you develop your love of Krishna. This is our business. If you do that, everything else will happen. He had to teach us everything. We were so foolish, still so foolish. On Harinam, again, Madhvisa Swami, Prabhupada, how do we attract the public when we're out on Harinam? How can we attract them? What is the best method when we're chanting, congregational chanting in the streets? Prabhupada said, you're not trying to attract them. We're trying to attract Krishna. Everything we do, our goal is to attract Krishna. He said, if you do that, you chant purely for Krishna's pleasure, people will become attracted. He said, Krishna's in the heart. Our business, everything we do, it's for Krishna's pleasure. Here it's for the pleasure of Shri Radha Rasa Bahari. Everything we do is for their pleasure. Then in Mayapur, the devotee said, Prabhupada, thank you for letting us come here. Thank you for bringing us to this place. Prabhupada said, Mayapur is your home. He said, this is your home. India, these holy places. He said, the West is for two purposes, preaching and sense gratification. It's our only business. Of course, now everywhere, here is the same thing. In India, India's always been catching up to the West, catching up in sense gratification. Now you have so much sense gratification here in India. Whatever you can get in the US, in the West, you can get it here. Same thing. In fact, any of you think you have some desire to go to USA to enjoy? Forget it. Everyone is struggling there. Homeless people walking around in the streets, lying on the curbs, just like here. We've become more like India. India's become more like the US. Everyone has their TV. I know even you go to the holy places, you can see in Rishikesh and Vrindavan, little huts, big dish on top, touch the sky. It's everywhere. So you fully absorb the West. But it has a good side. I was talking with one godbrother just last night, Patita Pavana Prabhu. He was here way back in the 70s. Petit Tudaran, initially, Prabhupada named him, and Patita Pavana. He came He was here in Juhu. He said, Prabhupada, I want to learn Hindi so I can preach to the Indians. Prabhupada looked at him. He laughed. He said, I've been preaching to them my whole life. I haven't made one devotee. He said, what are you going to do with your Hindi, learning Hindi? But now, because you've adapted the Western way of life, you Indians are also becoming miserable, just like those in the West. You become equally miserable trying to enjoy this material world. There's no enjoyment here. It's just relief of the suffering. That's all we have in this material world. Real pleasure is Krishna. He said just chanting. He said if you can't do anything else, you sit in your room, you chant Hare Krishna. You sit in the jail, you chant Hare Krishna. Our business is chanting. He said, all of my books, everything in my books is to bring you to one conclusion. What's that? Chant Hare Krishna. This is our business. All the philosophy is to bring you to the point of understanding, I chant Hare Krishna. I was in New Zealand. I told you I came with Prabhupada. September 72. So then in December, we had Cross Maidan Festival. It was the second one. 10,000 devotees, 10,000 people from the public coming every night to hear Srila Prabhupada. There would be 20 of us Westerners on the stage, The ladies, the men, Saffron, Achyutananda Swami, this one, that one, leading kirtans. We're known as dancing white elephants. You know what the term means, a dancing white elephant? The white elephants actually had no use. They were, in Thailand especially, they had elephants, the gray, working very hard, but these called albino, white elephants. So they had no purpose. And you had to feed them. You have an elephant, requires a lot of food, so much food. So they would teach them how to dance, how to perform, because they couldn't do anything else but perform, like in a circus. They couldn't carry the big logs. Elephants they used to clear the forest, grab big trees from one place, push them from one place, pick them up, bring them from one place to the other. But here were these white elephants. They didn't know how to do anything, but they taught them to perform, to dance. And in that way, they earned their keep. This is what we were. We came to India. No one cared for us. We were malechas. But Prabhupada trained us up to chant and dance. He would give his classes. Then we would chant and dance. Everyone loved to see us chanting. Who are these people? These white people, Dhoti, Kurta, Vaishnavas, so-called Vaishnavas. But he taught us how to chant and dance. That was his mercy. And everyone became attracted. One of these festivals, every day Prabhupada, and he would speak in Hindi. Of course the crowd was Hindi, so he would speak in Hindi. So it came to the last day of the festival. The kirtan was ecstatic. Chutananda Swami, his voice, he was like a Bengali born in America. He went to Bengal, he played a mridanga, everything expert. He learned Bengali, could chant in Bengali, could do everything. His voice like a Gandharva. So he was leading the kirtan. And the deities were on the stage, on the altar. They hadn't been installed yet. They later on would go to England, where they were installed. But we were worshiping them on the altar, Radha Krishna deities. So after the last night, Prabhupada finished his lecture. And you know the stages, the platforms, huh? You put them out here every weekend for weddings, different things. Expert here in India. You can make a temporary building look first class. And to get a building done permanent, very difficult, but you can make temporary building in 3 hours. Looks beautiful. Have your wedding ceremonies, everything. So the pandal was there, so it was a platform, speakers, everything rented, speakers rented, platform rented. Chutananda's leading the kirtan. Prabhupada got down off of the Vyasasan he was sitting on from where he gave his lecture. And he went and he stood right before the deities. And he bowed and he turned. And then he went around them. He started walking around, went behind them, started circumambulating. So all the devotees in the kirtan, dozen or more devotees, we just started following Prabhupada on the stage. And he's just walking around, and he would come back in front of them again. He bowed, turned, and he continued. So the kirtan is getting more and more, everyone, 10,000 people, everyone's chanting, watching Prabhupada. He goes around 3 times. 3 times he circumambulated. And he came back around. And he bowed, and he went around. And then he went around and he faced the crowd, 10,000. And he raised his arms up in the air and started jumping up and down. So everybody on the stage, all the devotees, all his disciples, everyone went into ecstasy. Prabhupada was always in ecstasy. Sometimes he would show it. He just started jumping up and down with the chanting. Chutananda's playing the mridanga, chanting Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada's jumping up and down. And soon everyone in the audience was standing, dancing at the kirtan with Prabhupada. And myself and Jamuna, we could see Radha Krishna deities. They were also dancing on the altar. They were starting to move back and forth because the whole platform was shaking. So they started also going back and forth. So we ran to them and we each held one of the deities down so that they didn't fall over. And then Prabhupada stopped. So then after the kirtan, we got into the car. I'm sitting next to Prabhupada. And he looked. He said, "So?" He said, "Program was nice." Sometimes Prabhupada would do that. He wanted to let you know how nice it was. So he would ask you, "Program was nice?" "Yes, Prabhupada." So it was very wonderful. I said, "You started dancing." I said, "Everyone was in ecstasy." He said, "Yes." He said, "I could have kept on dancing." He said, "But I saw the deities." He said, "They were in danger." He said, "So I stopped." He said, "Otherwise I would have kept on dancing." This is our business. I came here again. I regret that I didn't spend more time with all of you while I was here this week. But when I come and saw everyone so nice dancing at the kirtan, this is our business for the pleasure of their lordships. everything for their pleasure. We dress for them, we eat for them, we chant for them, we do our service for them. Everything is personal. In Los Angeles, one day Prabhupada would come down his stairs. His room was up on the first floor. So you would have to go up a flight of stairs. It was a flat, the 2-bedroom flat. One bedroom was sitting room. He had his bedroom. He had his bhajan room where he would chant. Some of these bhajans you hear on the tape, they were recorded in that place. You can hear Prabhupada. He gave us everything. You see the photos with Prabhupada with the headphones on, playing mridanga. You understand what that is? He's listening to himself, chanting, playing the harmonium. Early on in the 70s, he would record the bhajans for us that you hear. So he would sit and play the harmonium and chant. And then they would play it back. He would put the headphones on. And with the headphones on, he would listen to himself chanting, playing the harmonium. And he would play the mridanga, because no one else knew how to play the mridanga well enough at that time. So he would play the mridanga as well. So you can tell, if you listen to Prabhupada's, some of his bhajans, you'll know when he's playing the mridanga. Very special, very special. So in that place, he would give morning class in the temple room, and there was a back door. He would go through the door, go up the stairs. One time he's going up the stairs, and he saw a bead bag hanging on a doorknob. He looked at me. He said, "Whose bead bag is there crying on the doorknob?" He said it was crying. Personality. Upendra once was chanting on his beads, just his beads. They were out of the bag. Prabhupada said, "Where is your bead bag?" He said, "Oh, washing it, Prabhupada." He said, "You need 2 bead bags." He said, "One you wash, the other one beads are in that bag." He said, "Your beads should always be protected." So everything very personal. Another time, same thing, he was walking up the stairs. There was a plate of prasadam sitting on a table. There was no one there. As he's walking up, he looked at me. He said, "Who's left prasadam crying?" Krishna prasadam, crying on the table. He said, "Who has left it there?" This was Prabhupada's consciousness. Everything Krishna conscious. I always, when I see photographs sometimes, I see videos of Srila Prabhupada putting on his tilak, taking prasadam. You can see his meditative state. He would take prasadam alone, didn't speak to anyone. He would eat so carefully. He would honor prasadam. He sat on the floor. Didn't sit table, chairs, spoons, knives, forks. He sat on the floor on a straw mat. And usually the table, the choki, was against the wall, so he faced the wall as he took prasadam. Intimate Krishna prasadam, honoring Krishna prasadam. And that's what he gave us. It's how he turned the whole world into devotees, through Krishna prasadam, chanting Hare Krishna. I said, my wife and I, 3 months ago, we were away from India for 3 months. During those 3 months, I went to Mauritius, South Africa, Durban, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Then we went to Africa, Kenya, Nairobi, Mombasa. We were on the road for 3 months. Every week I was in a different place. Every week we were somewhere else, just to see. Prabhupada had been to every one of those places we went to. And every place he went to, there was a temple now. That's the potency of Srila Prabhupada. Not just that he just went to some place and left. He went to Cape Town, there's a temple. In Durban, there's a temple. Johannesburg, there's a temple. Wherever he went, there's a temple. That's the potency of the pure devotee. Mombasa, there is a temple. We went to the places where he stayed. These holy places, tirthas. For 40 years, I wanted to go to Africa to see what Prabhupada had done. Just like I wanted to go to Russia to see what happened, because he placed his lotus feet in these places. So I left Prabhupada as his personal servant June 1975. He went to Africa just after that. He went to Mauritius, he went back to Africa. And I always regretted I wasn't with him during that trip, because that was like the last frontier, Africa. They say the dark continent, they call biggest continent in the world, Africa. He went there 1971, 1972, 1975. He went there so that people could become Krishna conscious. And all he had to do was just be there. Just his presence made devotees. Some people think I'm a little crazy, but I say when he went to these places, the people became devotees. Somehow or other they associated with Prabhupada. They heard his chanting. Maybe they were the birds, the bees. Maybe he tread on them. Who knows? But somehow or other they got Prabhupada's mercy. But I could see it factually. Wherever he went, Krishna consciousness blossomed. Devotees are there, hundreds of devotees, thousands of devotees. This is why he traveled around the world 14 times, 10 years. It was to spread Krishna consciousness all over this globe, all over the planet. Just by his presence, Krishna's pure devotee, this ambassador from the spiritual world. There's no accident. He didn't go anywhere by accident. He didn't come here and get this place by accident. We come here now to see what's happened to this city, this super city, metropolis of Mumbai, Juhu. We never saw it. His disciples, they were thinking, buy some other place, Prabhupada. What's the point? So hard struggling with Mr. Nair over this place. We have money, just buy something else somewhere. No, not Prabhupada. He demanded this place. I was only with him for 3 months. I saw him with those headaches, all the troubles, all the problems that we gave him, his disciples, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to deal with things in this crazy country, India. Didn't know how to deal with anyone. He had to come personally, week after week after week. We all just wanted to leave on that next airplane. But no, he stayed here to make very comfortable place for everyone. And it was in December. Now Prabhupada had left India after doing programs in Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Mumbai, doing Bhagavad Sapta programs. Then he traveled. He went to New Zealand. And while he was in New Zealand, he received a call from Bali Murdan, a phone call. 10 years, Prabhupada got maybe 3 or 4 phone calls. He didn't talk on the telephone. Everything was by letter. Even if it took a month to get a response, sometimes the letters would have to go from one place to the next, following Prabhupada as he traveled. But Bali Murdan called him from Bombay. I was giving Prabhupada massage at the time. We're sitting in the room. Tushta Krishna was there in New Zealand. Tushta Krishna was one of the first presidents of Juhu temple. So now Bali Murdan is on the phone calling up. I'm massaging Prabhupada's back. Tushta Krishna comes to the door, says, Prabhupada, Bali Murdan's on the phone from Bombay. He wants to talk to you. Prabhupada looked at him. He said to me, he said, Shruti Kriti, find out what he wants. Prabhupada's sitting on the floor covered in oil. He said, see what he wants. So I got on the phone just for a few minutes. For a minute, I came back to the door. Prabhupada's looking at the door, just looking at the doorway, waiting. Why am I getting a call from this place, this crazy Juhu place? So I'm standing at the doorway. Prabhupada's looking at me, waiting for me to speak. I said, Prabhupada, Mr. Nair died. Prabhupada went, thank you, Krishna. I was shocked. I was only with him for 2 months. I never knew Vaishnava could be so happy to hear somebody died. Prabhupada was in ecstasy. I didn't know what was going on here. All the trouble, all the problems. And it continued even after that, there were problems. But Prabhupada was so happy. So then I sat down behind him again and I'm massaging him. I'm still thinking, it's strange, Prabhupada's happy. This man died. So Prabhupada, he could understand. He started speaking. He said, so much difficulty this man has given us, he said. So much difficulty. He said he was a demon. Big demon, he said. So much problems trying to take back this property, this Juhu property. He said, even my disciples, they didn't understand. They were thinking, get some other place. He said, but I promised their lordships, you please come and stay here in this place. Someday I'll build you a very grand temple. He said, you please stay there. He said, so I was not going to break such a promise. He said, but he was such a demon. So then I'm thinking, oh, he's a demon. Prabhupada said Krishna killed him. So I said, Prabhupada, does that mean he was liberated? Prabhupada said, no. He said he was not that big of a demon. He said Krishna didn't have to come personally to kill him. He said, then one's liberated. He said, but he wasn't killed personally. He said, I saw him when I was last in Juhu. I was there, sitting there in the room. They would talk like gentlemen together. You didn't know they were enemies. Prabhupada would speak to him, come in, offer him something to eat, some prasadam, always nice. He was proper Vaishnava. But inside, he said, I saw him when he came in, he was limping. One of his legs, he said he was limping. And I thought, Krishna's going to kill him. Later on, he said, Lord Nrsingadev has killed him. He wrote in a letter, Lord Nrsingadev had taken him. That was Mr. Nair. We know there's one letter I have one Prabhupada letter in my book. It's a letter to Tushta Krishna, the first temple president here in Juhu. He was discussing other things, pure devotee. Tushta Krishna Maharaj at that time, he was very attracted to one of Prabhupada's disciples, was very big devotee. He considered him to be pure devotee. And Prabhupada said, I think you have the wrong understanding. He said that you want to see this person, Siddha Swarup, as pure devotee. He said, Siddha Swarup, he is pure devotee. He said, but also Asiddha Swarup, also pure devotee. He said, Shyamasundar, Sundar, he's pure devotee. He said, all of my disciples are pure devotees. He said, anyone who's serving sincerely, he is to be seen as pure devotee. He said, in all of my disciples, ISKCON, he said they will all go back home, back to Godhead. He said, and there'll be ISKCON in the spiritual world. And we'll all go there, except for Mr. Nair. So I don't know who he was, this person. But who knows? Anyway, our business, Prabhupada has given us this very wonderful facility. But it doesn't mean you should just sit down here and enjoy very nicely. It means you have to give everyone else Krishna. That's our business. To take some trouble for Srila Prabhupada. Take some problems for Srila Prabhupada. This is how you become recognized by the spiritual master. When he sees you take up his mission and you take some difficulty for him. So, we have any questions, comments? Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. My name is Narad Rishidas from ISKCON, New York.
Hare Krishna.
So one time specifically I invited Shruti Kriti Prabhu to come and speak about Prabhupada's pastimes. Otherwise, who could speak more intimate pastimes of Srila Prabhupada than Shruti Kriti Prabhu or Harishwari Prabhu? These are the two main Prabhupada servants. They traveled around the world with for years. So after end of his speech, just it struck in my mind to ask one thing since they traveled for so long with Prabhupada. So I asked Shruti Kriti Prabhu, while you were traveling with Srila Prabhupada, did you make any mistakes or aparadhas because you traveled with a pure devotee? So Shruti Kriti Prabhu said, Narad, we always made mistakes and we always got chastised. So I was thinking, just being in the path of perfection, so it's not that easy that we can become perfect. To come to perfection, just we have to do lot of tapasyas. And the example is here, that traveling with a pure devotee who is the founder, Acharya of our society, and he made so many mistakes and always, he said precisely, always I made mistakes and always I got chastised. Then my next question to Prabhu was, how did you last that long? So I wouldn't be able to last even 2 days. How did you last that long? Then Prabhu said, Narad, tolerance is virtue. If you tolerate, then you can make advancement. If you do not, then you can't make any advancement. So therefore, I tolerated to Srila Prabhupada, and then I served him patiently. Thank you for your nice speech, and thank you for serving Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for setting this good example for us.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
the modern construction of all the temples is just like 3-star hotel, guest house, facilities, everything. So does it promote Krishna consciousness or does it slow down? Because in earlier time, in Gaudiya Sampradaya, there were not so much facilities. So whether physical facilities promote Krishna consciousness or otherwise?
What was I quite don't understand the question.
We are having facilities of a 3-star hotel
Yes.
here in every temple.
Yes.
So does it promote our Krishna consciousness or does it slow down? Because we are so become comfortable, sometimes lazy also.
These questions, many times in the West, reporters would ask such questions. Why you have such nice place? You preach austerity, all these things, and yet you're driving in nice car, beautiful places. Prabhupada said, it's for you. He said, me, I can sit under a tree. And he would. He would go to Bhaktivedanta Manor, beautiful, beautiful room. His sitting room was almost as big as this place here. But he would go out and sit under the tree, chant Hare Krishna. He said, these places are for you, so you will come to hear. He said, otherwise, not interested from hearing from mendicant. Prabhupada dressed very nicely. Yeah? He said, because this way people were attracted. Yeah? Now more than ever. People, what are they attracted by in Kali Yuga? They're attracted by money, opulence. They see opulence, they think, oh, success. You're successful. I also was just seeing, Prabhupada said, these temples, big, big temples, that's been going on thousands of years. He said, just like in our Mayapur now, we have the biggest dome in all of India. He said these temples were built like that. So from everywhere, people could see, there's Vishnu temple. They would think of Krishna just by seeing the dome, just by seeing the chakra on top of the temple. So whatever it takes to make one think of Krishna, that's a good thing. So nice facility, people come. Just like while I'm staying here, out my window, I could see the lawn there, heaven on earth lawn. Every weekend, 1 wedding, 2 wedding parties. So they're there having their weddings, looking for, maybe they don't even care this is a temple. But they're coming to a temple. They're taking Krishna Prasadam. They're hearing from devotees. In Vrindavan, Prabhupada said, if they just come, just like these people, every day, thousands and thousands, they bow down before the deity. They get some prasadam. He said their life is a success. So somehow or other, we want to bring people to the temple. So people are attracted to opulence more and more. Otherwise, why are they coming? In Vrindavan, our temple's one of the most popular temples in all of Vrindavan. There's bigger temples, there's newer, fancier temples, but everyone's coming to Krishna Balaram Mandir because there's life. They come, they're going to hear chanting. They're going to see the best deity worship in the whole world in our temples. Nowhere is the deity taken care of like they are in our temples. Prabhupada told them, I know the devotees, one of the ladies responsible for so many of these outfits, designing them, making them back in the day. He said, you make an outfit for the deity, should last 30 years. So many gorgeous outfits these deities have. But it came from very, very humble beginnings. Who was coming then? Who was coming to the temple then? No one. Now everyone's coming. So the places, so you'll come. You can sit in a nice chair. You can have nice prasadam. So many devotees to speak to. So it's for our benefit. Otherwise, devotees don't care. Just like my wife and I. We're going back to Vrindavan after 3 months traveling. Every week a different place. We've been living out of suitcases for the last 3 months. Do you think I'm here to enjoy a room? I don't care about these rooms. I'd like to go out and do what I'm doing today. But if I didn't have this to do, I'd be very happy to sit in Vrindavan. Krishna Vrindavan, non-different from Krishna, to sit in Vrindavan. This temple, non-different from the Lord. Everywhere he went, Prabhupada made it Vrindavan. So they're coming to Vrindavan, you're coming to Vrindavan. That's for our benefit. Otherwise, we'd be happy just to stay in Vrindavan, despite so many difficulties. I can't breathe there half the time, the air's so bad now. But still, it's Vrindavan. I see Vrindavan, it's Prabhupada's home. That's what he said, huh? Mayapur, my place of worship. Vrindavan is my home. What's Juhu? His office. So I like to be in Prabhupada's home, his place of worship, and his office. That's what I like to do. I come here, I remember Prabhupada. That's why I come here. I see the devotees, they remind me of Prabhupada. They remind me of the struggle. Brajahari Prabhu has been temple president here for 17 years. Just doing that is an amazing thing, to be temple president in anywhere in ISKCON for that long. He's one of very few people. I only know 1 or 2 other devotees have managed to perform such a feat. One is in Los Angeles, Swavas Prabhu. He's been temple president there for some 20 years or so. It's not easy. They're taking trouble for Srila Prabhupada. They should be given all facility, these devotees. These devotees traveling around, these sannyasis. Don't look at the opulence they're receiving. Travel around for 6 months, living in a different place every month, every week, with 1 suitcase. See how fun it is. The fun part is this, associating with the devotees. Otherwise, it's nothing but difficult. Every place you go, someone's cooking differently. Don't do this, have to tell them. Don't do this. Cook like this. Cook like this. Don't use this oil. Use only ghee. Don't use spices. Everywhere is nothing but trouble. But that's what we do. We take trouble for Srila Prabhupada. So yes, coming from here for a week to recover from surgery. That's why I came here. So I can go back out and speak again about Prabhupada. This is what Prabhupada's disciples, this is how we think. We don't think about sitting in a nice room, air-conditioned, Wi-Fi. Those things don't matter. That's everywhere. From the very beginning, Prabhupada told me, we were in Delhi. I told you, I didn't like India, never liked India, because I was always sick. Everywhere we went, I contracted every possible disease you could get. I had malaria 3 times, I had jaundice, I had colitis, I had dysentery again and again and again. Traveling. I couldn't wait to leave these places. When we were in Delhi, after being in India for 2 months, staying at one very wealthy man's house. It was in Delhi, it was here. It was Bollywood. He was a Bollywood producer, director. Even in his house, they were filming a scene for a movie in the house. So it was a very opulent house. We all had very nice rooms. It was the first time I had my own room with my own bathroom, marble floors, air conditioned. This was 1973. It was a rare thing. So Prabhupada rang his bell. He was in his room, master bedroom, beautiful room, chandeliers. So I came in, offered obeisances. He looked at me because he knew me. He knew everything about me. He looked at me, he said, "So you like it here, Shruti Kriti?" I said, "Yes, Prabhupada, very much." He said, "Yes." He said, "If Krishna gives us a bed, we sleep in the bed. But if he doesn't, we sleep on the floor." He said, "We're not attached. We just want to serve Krishna." So this is our business.
My second question is the rest of the Gaudiya Mutt, they have also their temples. So those Gaudiya Mutt people also stand the equal chance of going back to Godhead?
Everyone has a chance to go back to Godhead. Prabhupada said you can become perfect in your religion, whatever it may be. All you have to do is serve the Lord, develop love of Godhead. You remember Krishna at the time of death, you go back home, back to Godhead. He said that's perfection. It's not limited. We don't claim outside of ISKCON no one can go back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada never said such a thing. One has to be devotee. Krishna doesn't say that in Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman prityaja, ma may come to ISKCON. That's not what he says. He says, come to me and remember me. I'll take care of you. ISKCON, Prabhupada said ISKCON can be 2 people, 200 people. It's just associating with devotees. That's the purpose of ISKCON, any society. We associate with devotees. It's not about buildings. It's about good company. Because as soon as you walk outside these doors, it's all bad company. Everything's bad. He said, everything you should have at the temple. Prasadam should be so tasty, he said, you don't even think of eating outside of the temple. That's devotee. He only wants Krishna prasadam. He said, otherwise you become prostitute of the tongue. You know prostitute? Your tongue can become prostitute, your belly become prostitute, your genitals become prostitute. He said, don't prostitute your tongue. You take only Krishna prasadam. You only talk about Krishna. We don't talk nonsense. We don't talk gossip. That's also prostitute of the tongue. Talking nonsense about so many people. This one's doing this one did this one left, this one's in Maya. It's all nonsense. Our business is Krishna, 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 Krishna. Everything for Krishna. We don't dress nicely to attract other people. We dress nicely for Krishna. We don't dress like beggars for Krishna. Prabhupada said, we're all in Krishna's family. Maidservants of Krishna. Krishna had thousands and thousands of maidservants, and they had maidservants, and they all dressed very nicely for Krishna. Our whole program is to change our consciousness, become attached to Krishna, not detached. We're not in the business of becoming detached. We're in the business of becoming attached to Krishna. Then everything's okay. All right, I think it's getting late here. Any other?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank
Hare.
you so much for such a wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
And please forgive my ignorance if I ask.
We'll see.
So, Prabhuji, you were telling in the class that wherever Prabhupada went, wherever he kept his lotus feet, a temple has arisen, and so there are so many devotees. And we also hear that Prabhupada is still present in his books and in his Vani. So when I am hearing Prabhupada's lectures, when I am reading Prabhupada's books, why is that transformation of consciousness not happening? And what can I do for that change to happen, to surrender, to completely?
Do you feel his presence today?
Not really.
You try harder. Someone said, Prabhupada, how do I chant quality rounds? He said, how do you know quality until quality is there? You can't even understand what it means to chant quality until you have arrived at quality. He said, we do our business to serve the spiritual master. We follow instructions. Gradually, quality will come. Then you'll understand. He said we don't separately, just like in chanting, we don't separately try to meditate on the pastimes of the Lord, to see the Lord. We just chant and hear. And gradually you'll see the pastimes, the form, all these things will come in time. But what I see is, main thing is you associate with people who can give you that. Who can give you that association. I say I feel Prabhupada's presence now with associating with the devotees speaking about Prabhupada more than when I was with Prabhupada. Because my consciousness has changed. Not always, but sometimes it's there. I could be massaging Prabhupada and be a million miles away. So what does it mean? My consciousness wasn't there. Even I'm doing everything, but consciousness wasn't there. But now in the association of devotees in the temple room speaking about Prabhupada, I feel Prabhupada's presence. Not just his Vani, even his Vapu. It's there. Sometimes people will tell me, I felt like I was right there when you're telling that story. I said, well, you were right there. This is transcendental, it's not material. I would read Krishna book to Prabhupada. He would laugh and laugh and laugh like he was right there, because he was right there. We just have to stick with the process. Everything will come. Our main business is to do service. And we do service for one reason, to do service, not to extract some pleasure, some enjoyment from the service. Our business is to serve for service's sake, because that's our constitutional position. Sometimes we'll get to taste, but taste or not, the proof, Prabhupada said to me, service is love. You just do your service, everything will be okay. That's what he said to me. Just do your service, everything will be okay. He said that to me 46 years ago. So I've had sometimes, I have my household life, I had a business, I hardly went to the temple for years. Now I'm here. So everything comes. We just have to be patient, tolerant. Okay. Everyone take prasadam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.